from hiding their darkest secrets.
When he announced that final figure of £53 million, everyone's jaws just dropped.
To stepping into the octagon with a hidden agenda.
To be honest, I prefer fighting more than modeling, so...
Some of these stories aren't just about fighting for a title, they're about living two lives at once. Today, we're diving into the wildest, most jaw-dropping MMA double lives ever exposed. And trust me, you won't believe the lengths these fighters went to keep their secrets. Starting with someone who hid not just their career, but an entire side of themselves, even from the people closest to them. Shi Ming, the doctor who knocks you out. By day, Shi Ming is a healer with a gentle touch. By night, she's a beast who delivers brutal knockouts. Shi Ming doesn't just fight in the cage, she fights with her very identity. Shi Ming's life is a balancing act. As a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, her career and reputation are built on trust, confidentiality, and healing. Revealing her MMA career would risk everything: her reputation, her family's respect, and the future she worked for. She fights in secret, even continuing to see patients after securing a UFC contract. But it's a secret that, like any tightly held one, is difficult to keep. During her UFC debut, the fans screamed, "Go Dr. Shi," as a word was out. Her career as a doctor was too big to keep secret forever. The UFC had made sure to bring it to the surface, and when she finally fought in front of millions...
Yeah, see, this is where Harad is feeling the pressure.
She could no longer hide behind the walls of her clinic. Her imaginable, the very arena she thought she could escape to, was the one that revealed her truth. Shi Ming's double life isn't just about fighting two battles. It's about finding a way to conquer them both without ever revealing the true cost. But just when you think you've heard the most jaw-dropping twist, meet Lee Murray, who took living a double life to a whole new extreme. Fighting opponents in the UFC, yes, but what no one knew was that outside the cage, he was planning the most outrageous heist in UK history. Lee Murray, the fighter who robbed a bank. From the UFC to the world's biggest cash heist,
Britain's biggest ever robbery took place in the early hours of this morning in Kent.
Lee Murray's story isn't just about fighting in the cage, it's about fighting the system, and he came out on top, temporarily. Lee Murray had it all: a promising MMA career, a growing fan base, and the respect of fighters worldwide. But he wasn't content. The cage wasn't enough for him. After his UFC debut, he craved a higher level of power and control, and what better way to get it than orchestrating the largest cash heist in British history? The $53 million Securitas depot robbery was more than just a criminal act. It was the ultimate act of rebellion against the system. Murray's double life came crashing down in one of the most cinematic ways possible. After the robbery, Murray lived the high life, traveling in style, spending lavishly. But the law was always one step behind. When the heat finally closed in, it was a sting operation in Morocco that ended the double life. He was arrested and sentenced to years behind bars. It wasn't just the police that caught him, it was the slip-ups, the lavish lifestyle he couldn't hide. The story broke wide open when the robbery's mastermind was captured, revealing the man who once threw punches in the octagon was now throwing punches with the law. Lee Murray didn't just rob a bank. He robbed the world of any illusion that his life was anything less than dangerous and chaotic. But just when you think this couldn't get more outrageous, here comes a fighter who balances two careers. But not just any careers. We're talking about a UFC champion who's not only a fighter, but also a full-time firefighter. Wait until you see how Stipe Miocic manages it all without breaking a sweat. Stipe Miocic, the firefighter who stays in the fight. The UFC heavyweight champion who runs into burning buildings instead of running from the fight. Stipe Miocic is a living legend, and his double life is a story of balance between the flames of his firefighting career and the fire inside the octagon. For Stipe, it's simple. His UFC career is the dream, but firefighting is his duty. He doesn't fight for fame or fortune. He fights because it's who he is. The desire to serve his community is so strong that even as he held the UFC heavyweight belt, he refused to step away from his station. Miocic's two lives are about more than just a job. They're about identity. But that dual identity requires an intricate dance, and the world doesn't always know which hat he's wearing. Miocic's double life came into full view during an ESPN feature that followed him on a 24-hour firehouse shift just weeks before a title defense. The report showed Miocic arriving at his firehouse in full gear, proving that even as a UFC champion, he would rather answer to his calling than bask in the glory of his title. The balance between his careers had always been private, but now the world could see it. Miocic was not just a fighter. He was the real-life hero who never hung up his firefighter's helmet, even when the stakes were at their highest. Stipe Miocic is more than just a champion. He's the man who fights fire on both sides and never burns out. But then, hold on to your hats, because things are about to take a turn. Alexandre Pantoja, one of the top UFC flyweights, is hustling outside the cage just to make ends meet. Not in the way you'd think, though. Let's just say delivering food wasn't part of his original game plan. Alexandre Pantoja, the Uber Eats fighter. While he was out there fighting for a title, Alexandre Pantoja was also fighting to make ends meet by delivering Uber Eats and cleaning houses.
Win or lose is a victory. I have money for pay my bills.
Welcome to the grim reality behind the glamorous world of UFC. Despite his ranking as one of the top flyweights in the UFC, Pantoja wasn't financially secure. Poor fighter pay forced him and his wife to pick up side gigs like delivering food and cleaning houses. The UFC did not offer the kind of financial security he needed to solely focus on his career, so he had no choice but to hustle outside the cage just to stay afloat. Pantoja's side hustle came to light through a Sports Illustrated feature on Fighter Pay, revealing that while he was ranked among the best in the world, he was still delivering Uber Eats just to make ends meet. His double life became public when fans realized the disparity between the image of a champion and the reality of a fighter scraping by. What was once a hidden reality became a powerful narrative that even the best fighters sometimes can't escape the financial struggle. Alexandre Pantoja isn't just fighting for a belt, he's fighting for the life he deserves, even if it means delivering food before delivering punches. Now imagine balancing MMA and coding software for an IT company. Seems impossible, right? Well, Piotr Strus is doing exactly that. He's not only taking on opponents in the cage, but also taking on programming challenges behind the scenes. The next fighter is about to show you how to juggle two completely different worlds. Piotr Strus, the fighter and the programmer. By day, Piotr Strus is coding the future. By night, he's destroying his opponents in the MMA cage. Two worlds collide, and Strus is the one pulling the strings. Strus has always been someone with multiple passions. While his MMA career is his ultimate dream, his IT business is his lifeline. Balancing both careers is a necessity for Strus. He believes that by maintaining his work in technology, he can ensure his financial stability and future. The fight game is brutal, and with no guarantees, he can't afford to put all his eggs in one basket. Strus's double life was exposed in a Sherdog article, where the secret to his success in both fields came to light. It revealed that Strus wasn't just a fighter, he was also the co-owner of an IT company, where he spent just as much time programming as he did training. Fans were shocked to learn that the Polish middleweight who threw vicious punches was also a tech entrepreneur balancing code and combat. Strus's story showed how fighters must often navigate a delicate balance between their passion for MMA and the realities of life outside the cage. Piotr Strus isn't just a fighter, he's a master of balance, juggling tech and combat like no one else in the game. But just when you thought Strus's story was impressive enough, here comes someone who gave up high fashion for high stakes. Islam Dulatov, the model who became a fighter. Before he ever stepped into the cage, Islam Dulatov was walking the runway for brands like Versace and Gucci. The transition from model to fighter wasn't just a career change, it was a transformation. For Dulatov, modeling provided a world of luxury and status, but he was missing something. The spotlight of the runway didn't fulfill him the way the chaos of the cage did. So, he transitioned into MMA, leaving behind the world of high fashion. But living this double life allowed him to enjoy the benefits of fame and recognition while he pursued his true calling. Dulatov's past as a high fashion model came to light through a UFC.com feature.
To be honest, I prefer fighting more than modeling,
where he revealed that he had once walked the runway for brands like Versace and Gucci. His glamorous past collided with his present when fans and media connected the dots between his model shoots and his UFC career. Dulatov's transition wasn't just about fighting in the cage, it was about reinventing himself completely. Islam Dulatov might have walked the runway, but in the UFC he's walking to a much different beat, and this time it's all about fighting for his place in the world. And you thought Dulatov was the only one reinventing himself? Mirko "Cro Cop" Filipović didn't just reinvent his career, he took it a step further, jumping from fighting in the ring to training elite anti-terrorism forces. His double life might just take you by surprise. Mirko "Cro Cop" Filipović, the fighter who trains police. A heavyweight legend, a former anti-terrorism officer, and a politician, Mirko "Cro Cop" Filipović didn't just retire from fighting, he enlisted in a whole new battle. Why does Cro Cop live this double life? After his fighting career ended, Filipovic's commitment to law and order didn't. He continued to serve his country, training Croatia's special police forces, bringing the skills he honed in the cage to real-world combat situations. His double life wasn't about running from the fight, it was about carrying on the battle, but this time for something larger than himself. But just when you think Cro Cop's legacy is set in stone, the story flips again. He's not just training police, he's continuing to fight for a cause that goes beyond the cage, proving that some fighters never truly leave the fight behind. Mirko "Cro Cop" Filipović isn't just a fighter, he's a force of nature, one that never stops serving, no matter the uniform. These are the fighters who lived double lives, the heroes and villains who didn't just fight for glory in the cage, but fought for something much darker. And no matter where their paths take them, they'll never be forgotten.